Well, it may be November, but it's still Friday the 13th. So let's rank all 12 movies from the franchise from worst to best. Hey guys, how's it going? Nick Cooling here, and today I'm going to get to rank my favorite horror franchise, Friday the 13th. Now, it's definitely not the most consistent franchise out of all the horror franchises like Scream and that, but it's definitely the one I rewatch the most. And I just have such a fun time with this series. Now, I haven't released any reviews for this series yet, but I'm going to just randomly put the reviews out here and there whenever I get a chance. It's no big deal. This is a really important franchise to me, so I may even redo this ranking in the future too once I get better, maybe in a year or two. Because the rankings might change too. Because this franchise, I'm telling you, I'm always moving up and down after each watch with these movies. And there's some I used to hate, but now I don't mind as much anymore. I don't really hate any of these movies. So before we get right into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more content. I'm trying every Friday to come out with a different ranking, or at least every second Friday. If I don't do it, I'll come out with single reviews throughout the week to make up for it. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. So kicking off our ranking at number 12, the worst, would be Jason Goes to Hell for me. Now, I really hated this movie before, but now I'm lukewarm on it. I'm more mixed on it, and this is the 12th of my ranking, so you can just imagine the quality and my love for these movies are just going to get better with each entry. Oddly enough, this is the first Friday the 13th I ever seen in the 90s. Sometime in the 90s, I caught it on TV. Like everybody, I knew the character of Jason, but I was like maybe 9 when I watched Jason Goes to Hell and didn't really have a clue what was going on. I found it pretty cool. I liked it when they exploded him at the first and blew him up, and just the journey you go on. It was just very confusing as a child, but as a kid you don't really care. You could start a movie halfway through and it doesn't really matter. And that ending with Freddy coming up with his glove. So the plot of this one is very strange. It's Jason. After he gets blown up, the mortician eats his heart, and the soul of Jason, or I don't know, this worm thing, jumps from body to body, and so Jason takes the appearance of the mortician, and then he's the newscaster, and he jumps from body to body. It's pretty much like The Hidden. That's another movie that came out before this, but Adam Marcus swears he never watched it, but it's very similar. The effects in this movie are pretty top notch. Some of the best in the series, actually, surprisingly. The gore is just nasty. You get that crazy tent pole kill up through the shoulder. Some body horror. The guy's sticking to the floor and his chin stuck right there. It's some nasty stuff in this, but I love it. That's probably the best thing this has going for it. You got a pretty cool ending with demons and that coming and taking Jason and bringing him down to hell, supposedly, and then with the Freddy Krueger hand at the very end dragging his mask. Now, I found that was amazing as a kid. I'm like, holy shit, are these two gonna battle? And then we wait 10 years for it to actually happen. Now, the problems I have in this movie, a lot of people don't like that Jason's barely in it. It's always like other people he's taking the form of, but that doesn't bother me so much. It bothers me when Jason is in the movie, and I just can't stand him in this movie. His movements are almost robotic, like the way he moves. He grunts quite a bit in this movie, and he's more verbal than I'd ever want him to be. He looks like a meatball. I just don't like it at all. I don't like his getup, this button-up shirt. Nothing works with Jason in this movie for me. I prefer him jumping from body to body. And since this is like a body swapping movie, it doesn't feel at all like a Friday the 13th movie. It feels so out of place in this series. And just the whole movie as a whole just it feels pretty amateur. Like, I know Adam Marcus was very young directing this. This was, I think, his first movie he directed, and it shows. There's there's a lot of ideas in here that I don't think are fully fleshed out. He's trying to make almost like an MCU in this, with the Necronomicon from Evil Dead, with Freddy coming in. He had in the basement, I think he had like a crate from like The Thing or something. It just never really went anywhere because of they didn't own the rights to those movies and such. So, and character wise, they're okay, but Creighton Duke, people love him. I don't know why. I personally can't stand him. He's this so out of place character. He acts like he's a bounty hunter, and he acts like he's been after Jason forever. Who the hell is this guy? I never seen him before. And he's just weird, snapping the other guy's fingers in jail, pretty much, I don't know, for no reason. It just, his character kind of bothers me, I'll be honest, and I don't really see why everybody loves him. Like I said, this movie isn't terrible by any means. It's got great effects and that, and it's an interesting story, but it is going to come in last place in my ranking. At number 11, we got Jason X, the 10th entry in the franchise, and why not put him in space, huh? It never hurt any other horror franchises. But to be honest, this is probably the best space slasher that I've seen, or any horror movie that's not meant to be in space that they brought to space. This is probably the best one, just mostly because they don't take themselves seriously at all. It's just dumb fun, and you got to take it like that. If you're going in expecting a Friday the 13th movie, like the older ones, you're going to be very disappointed, and I think that's what happened when this was released. But I think over time, people are starting to come around to this and just taking it for what it is. It's a dumb popcorn flick. You got the government experimenting with Jason at the first, and we eventually find him in space, eventually on Grendel, I think the spacecraft was. Yeah, and it's nice because even the characters seem to understand that they're in a dumb movie. Like that girl that says, "This sucks on so many levels," like the movie and her getting sucked out of the room. This is little things like that. You learn to appreciate it. I know this is number 11 on my list, but I still have a good time with it. It's silly, but it's meant to be silly. You got some decent kills mixed in there. You got the simulation rooms, which I found really interesting, especially when they set it up for Crystal Lake in 1980. And Jason goes in there, and the two girls want to smoke pot or have unprotected sex or whatever they say. I get a big kick out of it. My biggest problem is I don't like the way Jason looks. Not so much before, but especially after Uber Jason, it's pretty terrible to me. The metal in that, he's not scary at all. It's one of his worst looks, actually. And even like the musical cues that they add in, that was in the old movies, the little score, it just doesn't work at all in this movie. I don't know, it just seems so out of place and odd. So again, this movie is definitely not for the straight up Friday the 13th fans that are expecting a classic slasher in the woods. Well, this is not it, obviously, but it's still a damn good time, and you should check it out. So next at number 10, we got Part 5, A New Beginning. Now this is the Scooby-Doo one, I like to call it, with the ridiculous twist at the end. So Tommy, after killing Jason in Part 4, becomes mentally unstable and goes from mental ward and halfway houses and shit like that. He ends up at Pinehurst in this one, at a rehabilitation center for patients, and hopefully trying to get him back into the real world. And he keeps like kind of snapping in the movie, freaking out and just fighting people, picking them up and wrestling them. Like, I don't like Tommy in this one. I'll just say that. His character is unlikable compared to when he's Corey Feldman or Tom Matthews in Part 6. I don't like his character in this one. I'll just say that. And most of the characters are just okay. I like the crazy over-the-top hillbillies next door. Their dialogue and everything, they're just so over the top. And that intro with the guy trying to give away his chocolate bar there, it's pretty ridiculous, and he gets chopped up over it. It's because the guy's bothered by him. Like, but to be fair, this film follows the formula that was laid out before it. You got a guy going around that you don't really see till the end, killing off people. It's almost like a remake of the first one. Not a remake, but like a reimagining, because the first one was Pamela Voorhees killing, and you're not sure it's her until the very end. You don't even know who she is. And then this one, it's almost the same with Roy Burns, but his motivations are stupid. Like, because of his son was killed, but you had your son as an orphan out at a mental place, and you didn't even probably go visit him or anything. No one knew that that was your son, so his motivations don't really add up. And it's so on the nose, like when the cop says, "What is going on here?" And he turns around, "You talking to me?" Like, it's like so obvious it's you. The kills are fairly decent. You got some bad mixed with some great, so it averages out. And you got some okay characters. I love Reggie the Reckless. He's awesome. Not so much Pam. I find she's really forgettable final girl, if you even want to call her a final girl, because she doesn't really have the story arc like the rest of them do. You can't forget about them damn enchiladas. That's always an awesome part in the movie too. And like I said before, the twist, the big reveal at the end is pretty hokey, like kind of Scooby-Doo style, ridiculous. Especially after seeing Roy Burns go through this movie, like Jason himself busting through doors, like just by walking through them. Like, how is he that powerful if he's just an ambulance driver? Nothing adds up. Like, it's a formula of the first four movies, but it's just done a little worse. Coming in at number 9, we got Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, a lot of people have this as like their worst in the series, which I can kind of get that. When like maybe 10 years ago, I used to find this like pretty bad. If you're looking at like from a critic's standpoint, this is a very terrible film. But I feel like if they would have changed the name to Jason's Bloody Voyage, a lot more people would have it up on their lists, which is ridiculous. Just the title's gonna... I know it's misleading, but the title shouldn't affect the rating that much. So yeah, that's the essential plot of this movie, is Jason takes a boat to Manhattan, but an hour of the movie is him on the boat. And a lot of people hate that, but it's pretty awesome. You get to see him going around slashing everybody up on this boat. We still get Jason killing people. That's what we really want. Yeah, the kills are kind of watered down, except for Julius's head punch and the Kelly Hughes character getting slammed down. Those are both great, but the rest are just, The characters are passable, I find. It's like a coked up 80s boat ride. I think Kane Hodder kills it as Jason, the slimy looking Jason. A lot of people don't like his look either. Like, I just hear a lot of stupid complaints about this film. Yeah, it's a dumb movie, but we're an 8th entry in a slasher franchise about a kid who drowned before the first one. So, what do you expect? And when we do actually get to Manhattan, it's pretty kick-ass, in my opinion, up until the sewers. The sewers has toxic sludge coming to... That's how they end Jason, which is... Like, I don't think that actually happens in New York. Like, it's toxic sludge just goes down, or all the... I don't know. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's logical. I don't really care for Rennie's hallucinations, though, throughout this movie, where she keeps seeing Jason as a child. Like, I get her fear of water because of her, I think it's her uncle, that's like trying to teach her how to swim just by pretty much throwing her in the water at the lake back in the day. And it's kind of ridiculous. They should have probably took that out of the movie. I feel it hurts it a tiny bit. So yeah, this movie is full of flaws. I'm not denying that. And if you hate this movie, okay. But for me, every time I watch this movie, it goes up on the scale. The flaws are there, but they don't bother me as much after a while. They just kind of disappear. I'm like, oh, why is he teleporting all over the place? I used to hate that. Now I'm just like, you know what? He's died so many times, getting electrocuted. He got electrocuted at the starting of this. Maybe his powers are just growing, and now he can just go, like, teleport anywhere he wants. That's the way I see it. And you just can't take it too seriously. And it's definitely a really fun ride if you don't. Now, I can get if you dislike or hate any of the movies I already mentioned, because they all have their own problems. I can see that too. But from here on out, I think they all deserve a passing grade. They're that good. They still have their flaws, but they're, I don't know, I can see past them a lot more. So coming in at number 8, we got Part 7, A New Blood, which is an odd title for this movie. It's essentially Jason versus Carrie, like everybody says. And that's a little bit of a problem for me. Like, it's awesome seeing her fight Jason with her telekinetic powers, but at the same time, she's almost overpowered. Like, if she would just focus, Jason wouldn't stand a chance, which kind of defeats the purpose of these movies. Like, it was always this girl who had to, like, stand up and become fierce and brave to defeat Jason. This one, it's more like, yeah, she still has to stand up and be brave, but she has the power all along to destroy him very easily. But besides that little negative, Jason looks fantastic in this movie. One of the best looking Jasons. We get to see all of his carnage from all the movies. You see the bones sticking out of his back, the spinal. You see a part of his face. The mask is breaking up, and it just looks really cool. And Kane Hodder does an excellent job playing him for his first time. The stunts in this movie, man. Amazing stunts. He does this fire stunt. It was the world record at the time, I believe. And he actually burnt himself a bit. You get like houses exploding. You get definitely the best stunts out of all of these movies. The characters are pretty shitty besides Tina and Nick. The rest of them are... It's either you don't like them the way they were written, like Dr. Cruz, or Melissa maybe. Like, Melissa's okay as the bitch, but all the rest of them, I couldn't even tell you their names. They're so forgettable, and I've seen this movie many times. Like, they're just throwaway characters. And the kills in this movie, I guess, would have been awesome if the MPAA wouldn't have butchered them. They cut them all to almost to where as soon as the kill's about to happen, it cuts to the next scene, or it just shows it off screen. Like, you don't get to see the carnage, which is a shame in a slasher movie. That's what we come to see. Although when Tina is fucking around with Jason, now we get some pretty cool shit going on. We got the mask busting on his head. We got cool looking face on Jason too in this one, the reveal. You get him choked, you get him on fire, you get nails through him, a house landing on him, electrocuted. From the last half hour to the end is like amazing, just watching all this shit happen to him. Even though, like I said, she's kind of overpowered. But then you get this I don't want to say that word. The stupidest ending in this whole series, which is the way Tina defeats Jason by resurrecting her father, which, besides being a tiny bit muddy, looks the same as when he died like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. Dumb. He comes up, grabs Jason, and hauls him down to the bottom of the lake again. Where if you would have at least made him like have a decaying look or something, it would have been somewhat cool. But the way it was done, it's my least favorite ending in this whole franchise, to be honest. So coming in at number 7, we got the original. Isn't that weird? How many franchises can you say the original is like in the middle of your ranking? I know some people have this as their number 1, and that's fine. But for me, I'll explain why it's not. First, I'll say the good. Great kills. Savini killed it in this movie. I mean, that's pretty much what they were trying... The only thing they were trying to go for was a cool kills, atmosphere, and a pretty cool jump scare ending, which they accomplished 100%. It's just too bad that they didn't take the time to develop the characters, because they're all pretty one-dimensional. Even though I like them, like, they're not bad. Like, I enjoy watching them. It's just that even behind the scenes, when you listen to the special features and that, they weren't going for character arcs and all this. They were just going for put them there, let them get killed, have one girl survive, and that's pretty much it. So I think they do a decent enough job, but Alice is not a final girl for me. She does okay, she's great, but compared to Ginny and all these other final girls that we get, you really notice how she's just missing that something that the rest of them had. Even though she has survival skills, she tries to lock the door, keep barricade, she goes for the gun and the bullets, and she does a lot of cool things. It's just, I don't know, she's missing that charm. And I just want to point out, Annie from the first would have been a good choice because she's such a likable character, but she gets killed off right away. And I'll give that point to Jason Knight. He pointed that out, and it's so true. Like every scene, the atmosphere is done the best in the whole series. This feels like the most straight up like horror movie, and it almost plays like a supernatural ghost story because you never know who the killer is. There's a few red herrings here and there that don't really work, but they they say how this camp has a curse on it and the water goes bad and people keep getting killed. It almost seems like a ghost story until the very end when it all is revealed to you. Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees kills it. It's so weird because it's kind of corny, her dialogue at times, but it works so well because she almost has like a split personality. She's talking normal, but then she's like, "Kill for mommy." Like she has a Jason in her head talking, and it's just done really well. What I don't find is done too well is their fighting, like the stunt work with her and Alice, Adrian King. That seems very corny. The dialogue's great, the fighting not so much. It kind of feels cheap. Right up until you get the badass decapitation, and then that looks cool. Like I said, all the kills look awesome and the gore, but just the choreography or whatever the hell you want to call it is kind of dull. And not to mention, this movie has a great jump scare. I know they were kind of piggybacking off of Carrie a little bit, but you don't see it coming at all when Alice is in the boat at the end. You think the movie's going to end, the cops are showing up, and it's playing this nice music throughout, and it's the first time you get this type of music in the movie. And here comes little Jason coming up, and it scares the shit out of you when you're not expecting it. It's done very well. And talking about the score for this movie is a little bit of well, I don't want to say a ripoff. It's heavily influenced by Psycho, I would say. You can really hear the similarities, except they add in their own touch to it. And it's unique because the score only ever plays when the killer is around. And watch it. The next time you watch this movie, check. It's super silent when the killer's not around. And they did that deliberately until the final jump scare at the end. That's when they play the music. And it really throws you off because you expect the credits to be coming up. So we made it to the halfway mark now at number 6, and we got the reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, 2009 Platinum Dunes movie. Now, this probably has the biggest decline in my rating overall. This was probably my favorite when it released. I was so impressed by it. I loved how grounded it was. It explained how Jason can get the point A to point B so quickly by using the tunnels underground and the little bells to know where people are. I thought that was genius. Derek Mears is fierce and badass Jason, not to be messed with. He's probably the most intimidating out of all of them. I love that he sets traps. He's essentially like a hunter-gatherer in the woods, and he's just not to be fucked with. The plot's essentially like a rehash of the first 4 movies scrammed into one, and it does a fairly good job at that. This is probably the most well-made movie since it's the newest. The cinematography is great. It looks good, but it's a little glossed over because I got that Michael Bay Platinum Dunes style written all over it. And the intro to this movie, the first 20 minutes is gold. I know a lot of people say this, but it's true. And it's weird it takes that long before you get the title card, but man, if we just got the first 20 minutes of this movie in like a fan film or something, people would be raving about it and they wouldn't shut up about it. But the problem is, after that 20-minute mark, the movie kind of settles in and we never really get back to that high, intense energy that we had in the first. Another problem is the characters are mostly all unlikable. They all look like they walked off of a model shoot, which they don't seem real. I'll say that. A lot of people give Trent a lot of shit, but he's written that way. He's written to be the asshole, so don't blame the actor or anything. It's just the way that the character was written. Yeah, he's a douchebag and no one likes him, but he gets killed in a pretty cool way on the back of the truck, so there's that. And for being a pretty intense Friday the 13th movie, and it moves at a pretty fast pace, the the ending is just so dull. I find the way to defeat Jason. It's like, really, that's all we're getting. And it's just too bad that we'll never probably get a sequel to this either because of the court systems. Oh, and by the way, there's like a weird kidnapping that happens in this movie. Jason kidnaps a girl in the intro, and one of the guys from Supernatural is looking for her. It's his sister. And I always found that kind of weird that he kidnapped someone. But if you think about it, you go back to part 3. He was chasing Chris Higgins around in the woods when she was a teenager, and was it a dream? Did it really happen? Did he like rape her or something? We don't really know. It's never really explained. So I think that's where they got inspired to add that into this reboot. All in all, it's not a bad film at all. It's pretty good, but I would have said it was like a 9 out of 10 when I first seen it. And it's really dropping down. Now it's like a 7.5, a 7, right around there for me. Like I said with Jason Takes Manhattan, the flaws are going away every viewing. This one, the flaws, they're getting more and more every viewing. I have more and more problems with it. So in the future, it could really drop down even farther, actually. But we'll see. Coming in at number 5, we got Part 3, the 3D one. This one is the one with the barn. That's one of the main locations you'll see if you've never seen this movie. And I love Chris Higgins as the final girl. She's gorgeous, best looking to me of the whole franchise. But besides that, she fights back. She's fierce. I just love her character. The rest of the characters are decent enough too. I know a lot of people don't like Shelley. I find he's great. There's nothing wrong with him. The only two I find out of place are the two hippies, the stoners. Like, they seem like they're 20 years older than the rest of them here. It just seems out of place for them to be hanging out with the rest of this crew. It's a little weird too, the appearance of Jason after part 2 being like the farmer with the big beard and with the long hair and the scruff and all that, to going from bald to bald with new set of clothes, even though he could have got the new clothes on the laundry line at the first of the movie. I just wish they would have tied the two movies together a little better, especially it's the same director. You think he would have, but I understand that the ending of part 2 is a dream sequence, so that could kind of explain it for you right there. Now this is my favorite final act. I'm pretty sure it's in my top 2 or 3 anyway of this franchise, when you get Chris finally when Jason comes through the window with the axe. Starting from there right to his defeat is this badass. I love it. Right from when she's hiding in the closet and she fights back. She starts swinging the knife at him, and you actually get a final girl that's ready to go out swinging. And for Jason himself, I love the look. You get the classic hockey mask for the first time. And if it wasn't for them adding that in this movie, who's to say we would have 12? And just the way the guy who plays Jason acts in this movie, like after the harpoon or whatever the kill on the dock there with the, I don't know, call it a harpoon, I don't know what the hell it is. He just drops it and walks like a gangster. It's pretty badass. Like he has no care in the world. Finally, the soundtrack to this movie really stands out among all these films. It's like a weird 80s, like a, not techno, but like a, it's hard to explain. It's almost like a sci-fi mixed with I don't know. It's mixed with the original theme. It just sounds great. I love it. It's so 80s. Only little problems with this movie. This small. It's like it's a slow burn. It takes a good 45 minutes or so to really get going with the kills and that. But then once it starts, it just doesn't stop till the credits roll. The 3D is a real bummer because almost every scene they're just trying to have the 3D come out at you, like my finger there. That's their 3D, and it gets in the way of the movie. It's really dated. I just wish they could remove the 3D gimmick, and it would really improve. And lastly, that ending, that dream sequence in this one, like third time's a try, and this time you got your first fail for the jump scare ending. I love the look of Jason when he's scratching at the window, looking out at Chris. That's cool. And when he's running out at her, it's freaky as hell. That's awesome. What I hate is Pamela coming out of the water. Like, what the hell is that? For one thing, she was decapitated. She was never in the water. Like, it's just stupid to me, and it doesn't have that effect. It doesn't have that jump scare effect at all. It's a complete fail. But besides that, this movie is really grown on me every watch too. Like, I've been watching it for years, but it's still these movies, the rankings, this up and down, up and down. It's one of the franchises that does it the most for me. And speaking of movies that go up and down all the time, at number 4 we got Freddy vs. Jason. Now, when I was first thinking about this ranking, I thought this one was going to be much lower, like below the original. But after rewatching, I'm like, man, this movie is just so damn fun. And I believe this movie it gets way more hate than it deserved. It's a, like, take it as a fan fiction movie. You literally got Freddy versus Jason. Like, you're not gonna get The Godfather, even though we never had that in this franchise anyway. It's just ridiculous to me, the reasons why people don't like this one. I think it's talking about Freddy for once. This is a great Freddy. Robert Englund really portrayed him amazing. I think his best since Dream Warriors. I'd say that, yeah. His best since Dream Warriors. Jason, on the other hand, a lot of people like his look. I don't really care for it. He looks like a troll from Lord of the Rings. He's all black with like pointy ears, and he has like little patches of hair coming down. You should have kept him bald. I know he's zombie Jason, but he's like tar black in this one. I don't really care for his look, but he gets a shit ton of kills in this movie. Where Freddy gets one, he gets like 20 some easy. Especially that cornfield scene is to die for. I love that scene where he's on fire walking through the cornfield. And I find the way that they put these two characters together was really clever. Like, no one believes in Freddy anymore, so he uses Jason to start killing on Elm Street to make people think that it's Freddy and to bring him back and have people fear him again. I thought that was pretty genius. Like, how else would you get these two to go battle each other? I can't think of it myself any different way. I think it was done very well. This movie's fairly fast paced too. One of the quicker run times, not run times, but quicker pace wise than most of these movies. You just jump right in, and once you reach that final battle, the last like 25 minutes, half hour, it's pretty much like a glorified WWF match, like the heavyweight champions against each other, the match you always want to see. And that's kind of how it plays out, just way more bloody and gruesome. Laurie, the main character, she's terrible. I'll say that. Like, she's a bad final girl. Her acting is really iffy. There's a few scenes where she gets real emotional and starts crying, and it's not really believable. But the rest of the cast does an okay job. I find they're pretty good. I just don't really like the camera editing in this movie, and the shots. Like, when someone goes flying, it's like slow-mo blurry. And this happens quite a few times in the movie where there's like slow-mo blurriness, and that always bothers me in movies. I really like 30 Days a Night, but a lot of scenes with the vampires where they're going quick, it's like blurry. You can't see anything. It's just a cheap way to film something that was too hard to film. But yeah, I always found this movie got hate on way too much. Ooh, we're coming in the top 3. Now these are all great. I love them. Number 3 is Part 2, Sac Had Jason. This was my favorite at one time, and I think it might be the most terrifying out of all of them, to be honest. There's a few scenes where it's pretty tense. Like I said, you get Sac Had Jason, which I like the look of it. I'm glad that they moved on with the hockey mask because it's so iconic, but it was just cool to see him the way he started, you know, as Farmer Jason. The kills are pretty decent in this one. I love Mark's death with the wheelchair there. But if you watch the uncut kills on the new Scream Factory edition, they should have added them in. I wish the MPA didn't make them cut them. Like the spear going through the two of them on the bed. I know that's like, I think, a ripoff off Bay of Blood or something. But man, when you see the uncut version, the blood coming out and you see it piercing right through the skin, it just looks great. I just wish those would have been in this film. You get a way better cast than the original. Like, right away, all the characters are a huge step up. Especially Ginny, which I'm going to call it is the best final girl in this whole series. She's smart, she's brave, she's fierce. She took course on child psychology, I believe, and she uses that to her advantage, which is genius. And everything from the location, like Packanack Lodge, everything looks great in this movie. You get a little bit of a repeat in the end with the jump scare ending, but I don't know. To me, this is even scarier than the first one. This one got me the most when I was younger. Like when he busts through the window at the end in the dream sequence. Man, that's terrifying. And it's too bad we never did get to see what happened to Paul. Like, he's never mentioned again in any of these entries. Cops don't know where he is. We just have to assume that Jason must have got him, or we would have seen him again. One thing I find really weird in this movie is the intro. Like how Jason goes to town to kill Alice, Adrian King from the original. It's I know it's the add continuity to the story, even though it doesn't make any sense that Jason's there when he drowned. But I don't know, it almost feels like filler. The first, yeah, she's sleeping and having flashbacks of the first, that's fine. But when she starts walking around her apartment, and the cat jumps out, and she finds the Jason's mom's head in the fridge, it gets a little ridiculous. And I don't know. Like, how does he get there? How does he make it back to the camp? I don't like to think about that type of stuff. And I almost wish I could edit this film to fix the intro a little bit, because the rest of the movie is perfect. So coming in at number 2, what is it? It's Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. Now, I know, most of you have this as number 1. That's fine. It's okay. And I'll admit it, this is the best slasher in the series. It is. It's not my favorite movie, but it's the best slasher. You got great kills all around, some of the best in the series, a few of them that are in my top 10. You get great characters, even the throwaway characters like at the guest house, they're above average. And then you got the Jarvis family, which is amazing, with Trish and Tommy and the mom. It's essentially the same formula as the first 3 movies, but done at a higher level. Everything's done better. Everything. Also love the look of Jason. You get the classic axe mark from part 3 in his mask. I think his movement's great. He even runs at times. He's scary as fuck. He kills very brutally. Ted White did an excellent job portraying him. You get this badass final act, one of my favorites, when he's chasing Trish all around and Tommy's there, and the way they defeat him, how they use psychology again on him, just like Ginny did. Like, it's funny, the movies that deal with Jason's background and psychology seem to be the best. The only problems I have with this movie is really nitpicks. I'm just nitpicking, like, okay, the newspapers. There's one with even Jason there with his mask, like someone took a picture of him and didn't die, got to put it in the newspaper. There's that one guy, what's his name? Rob. He when he goes in the basement and is getting killed by Jason, he's like, he's killing me, oh god, he's killing me. I'm like, it's just so corny. In this fairly straightforward, cool movie, you got that thrown in. I would love to take that out or just fix that part. It kind of bothers me. I know a lot of people love it and get a kick out of it, but it just seems so out of place to me. Why did Gordon just randomly run up the stairs and jump out the window to never be seen again? Is he gone to see his girlfriend? I'm talking about the dog here, the golden retriever, but okay, maybe he knew to get away. I don't know. That's also weird. And lastly, the video editing is a little weird. Like, I don't know if Jason's teleporting or what, but he literally is in the kitchen. He kills Crispin Glover. And then he's outside, up top on the top floor, outside the window. Kills that girl at the window. But then he's right back in the kitchen again, right beside Crispin Glover's body. It's as if they put it in the wrong order, the video editing. I don't know if that's a mistake or if it's just supposed to be that he's teleporting already or what. But anyway, like I said, these are all just nitpicks. They don't really hurt the movie. They're just little tiny things that bothers me that I can look past anyway. So by now, you guys obviously guess what's number 1. I'm wearing the shirt even. Jason Lives. Now, this may not be the best made movie in the franchise. This may not be the best slasher. Well, it isn't. But I just get so much goddamn enjoyment out of it. I don't know what it is. If it's the Rockstar soundtrack, the Alice Cooper. I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. If it's the fast pacing of this movie. If it's the meta humor. Like, this is... Okay, we had 5 movies. This is the first one that said, okay, we've been doing the same thing over and over. Let's change it up. let's make the characters break the fourth wall and look at the camera. Let's, like, little things like that I love. And this predates Scream and New Nightmare, all those meta style horror movies. So that's cool about it. Like, I'm just glad they switched up the formula, you know, after seeing the same thing kind of, or close to the same type of plot and story as the last 4 or 5. They switched up on number 6, which I love that they did that. Jason himself is Zombie Jason, or Frankenstein Jason. That's the way he's resurrected, through lightning and a pole. It just made so much more sense to me when I was younger that Jason as a zombie, like, I don't know, the old movies are great, but when he's human Jason, it's like, how can he take that much damage, right? Even though he's not really human because he already died as a child. So besides the point, I just always loved him as Zombie Jason. In this one especially, like, it's just like when he's getting shot and he just keeps coming, like, that stuff makes more sense now. And I don't know, it doesn't have the best kills, but they're all unique enough. I don't hate any of them except for one with the smiley face tree, the paintball scene. And getting to the paintball scene, a lot of people hate that whole scene. I only just dislike the part where he pushes the guy's face into the tree and there's a smiley face. That's a little too silly, but overall the rest of the movie is just kick ass. You got that badass RV scene. Like, we never got anything like that in a Friday the 13th movie. That type of stunt work, like the rolling of the RV and him coming out standing on top, it's just so badass. That's the only way I can describe this movie, is this badass. And as for characters, I mean, like Tommy Jarvis, Corey Feldman did a great job in the final chapter, but Tom Matthews kills it as the adult version too. Like, when I think Tommy Jarvis, I think Tom Matthews now, and no one could really ever replace him after this. Tommy's great. Megan's great, the female lead in this one. Her dad, Sheriff Brackett, is good. He has his own motivations in that, and he's thinking different than Tommy Jarvis. But it's reasonable. Like, he thinks this guy's just wacko because Jason was supposed to be dead, right? And it all leads up to this really badass ending with Jason he's tied to the bottom of the lake, right? And he's grabbing at Megan in that, and then he gets the propeller in his throat, keeps going in his neck until it just snaps, and all the, like, almost like guts and just meat coming out into the water. And it ends with him opening his eye, just to show that, well, he's Zombie Jason now, right? He can never die. Well, even though he could never die before, but like I said, it just makes so much more sense now. And a franchise that doesn't really have to make sense. This is just the coolest friggin' entry in the whole series for me. I just love everything about it, guys. And that's why I came in at number 1. But I want to know, what's your number 1? What's your favorite? What's your worst? Let me know in the comments. And are you having a good November 13th? Because that's what it is. It's on a Friday, though. So happy birthday, Jason. And if you like the content, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. I do all sorts of things, not just rankings and reviews. I do stuff with music and guitar covers, so check all that stuff out. You can expect me to always have more Friday the 13th content, because I'll come up with something to make more videos. I just always want to make videos about my favorite horror franchise. So I think that's it for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Maybe in a year or two, I'll update it to if I get any better at this shit. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.